Om Sri Chinmaya Sadguruve Namaha. Hello students. Welcome to today's online class of our economics chapter sectors of Indian economy, fourth part. Once just we recall what we discussed in our previous classes. So classifications of sectors based on the nature of work, primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, and based on the working conditions. As we discussed, organized and unorganized sectors of economic activities, and which sector creates more opportunities. Without any doubt, a tertiary sector creates many employment opportunities to the people, and we discussed about what is meant by MNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act of 2005. What are the main features of this act we discussed in our previous class. In today's class, I'm going to discuss with you about economic activities based on the ownership. And third classification of our economic activities on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, our economic sectors are divided into two parts. The first one is public sector and the second one is private sector. On the basis of ownership, public sector economic activities or public sector or private sector economic activities, which sector provides many opportunities to the people. In today's class we are going to check which sector is called as public sector. In this public sector, all the assets, properties related to government, and government will provide all the services to the people. What kind of the services included in this public sector, which is needed to entire nation's people, is provided, and which needs huge investment, machinery and manpower. These kind of activities or services handed over by government. So for example here, NALCO, BHEL and BSNL, NRL means communications, banking sector, and as well petroleums and Indian Railways, Indian research centers, aluminum factories, iron and steel, which needed huge money to invest, and ports, airports. So for these all the things we need huge investment, and it is not possible by to establish by private sector people. So that all important, confidential and necessities is provided by government, which is called as public sector. Second one, private sector. Private sector means private sector assets owned by individual people or group of people. So these private sector industries or organizations are working for the purpose of profit. They are not thinking about the necessities of the people or welfare of the people. Just they establish their industries or companies only for profit purpose. These private sector industries or factories owned by a single individual or group of people join together and establish their own industries. Here, the private sector employs most of the workforce in some countries. The private sector is legally regulated by the state. Business within one country are required to comply with the laws in that country. So here, Tesco, Nikon, so Dorma, These all are multinational companies, and some Indian companies, they establish their activities only for the purpose of profit, not the welfare of the people. Another way, classifying economic activities into sectors. What are the sectors in terms of ownership? Public and private sector. So in public sector, government owns most of the assets, and in private sector, all assets owned by the individual people. Here, Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, rail industries are the example for private people in our country, and railways and post office and ISRO are the examples for public sector activities. Activities in the private sector are guided by the motive to earn profit. To get such services, we have to pay money to these individuals and companies. The purpose of the public sector is not just to earn profit. If you see here, the purpose of the public sector not just to earn profit. So public sector means our government never works or provided services for the purpose of revenue. Understood? Whereas if you take Reliance, if you want to purchase any mobile from Samsung or any other company, you want to buy a soap or you want to buy a toothpaste. So for this, we are paying money. These all are owned by private sector people. If you see, there is no mobile companies established by our government of India, or any soaps companies, toothpaste companies, or any services which commodities we need in our daily life. Then what kind of industries were established by our Indian government? If you take railways, so railways it is not possible by laying individual people, because from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, we have to invest laying railway lines and making of compartments, bogies, railway stations, which includes huge revenue, so that almost every facility related to this is owned by our government of India without any doubt. If we take APSRTC, Andhra Pradesh State Road Transportation, what about the road transport, laying roads and government buses, everything owned by our? Not by individual buses are there, but they are collecting high wages, high fare when we compare with our state government running RTC buses. Understood clearly? So if we compare with private and public, private people are earning more money, and government public sector is working for the welfare of the people. And the next one, take one more example, electricity facility. So electricity generation is under the control of the government of India, which is necessary. For example, it needs huge dams, reservoirs. Production of electricity is very expensive. For example, if we take to generate 1 unit electricity, we need 12 rupees, or minimum 8 rupees, 8 to 12. But our government collecting based on the slabs below 50, we are paying only 80 paisa or 1 rupee, or above 200 we are paying only 1 rupee 40 paisa. Like this we are paying, so that the remaining amount invested by government of India. So which sector needs more investment and which is very important to the people, those are maintained by public sector. So public sector are not working to just earn profit. Government raise money through the taxes and other ways to meet expenses and the services rendered by it. Modern day government spend on a whole range of activities. What are these activities? These are several things needed by the society as a whole, but which the private sector will not provide at a reasonable cost. Why? Some of these need spending large sums of the money, which is beyond the capacity of the private sector. For example, to laying railway lines need thousands of crores. Thousands of crores. It is not possible to invest by private sector people. Electricity generation, thousands of crores. It is not possible by ordinary people, individual citizens. So that these kind of huge investment is provided by public sector. To provide this, what our government is doing, collecting money from the people in the form of taxes and using that money to provide facilities to the people. And also collecting money from thousands of people who use these facilities is not easy. Even if they to provide these things, they would charge a high rate for their use. Examples are construction of road, bridges, railway lines, harbors, generating electricity, providing irrigation through the dams. So these are not possible by private people. Thus, government have to undertake such heavy spending and ensure that these facilities are available for everyone at less price only. If we are giving those important things to the private people, always these private people work only to earn profit, so that they are collecting more money from the people. So our government only hand over these all the things to provide main facilities to the people. There are some activities which the government has to support to the private sector people. The private sector may not continue their production or business unless government encourages it. For example, selling electricity at the cost of generation may push the cost of production of goods in many industries. Many units, especially small scale industries, might have to shut down. Government here steps in by producing and supplying electricity at rates which these industries can afford. Government has to bear part of the cost. Production of electricity, it is very expensive. So if our government collecting entire amount from the household, not possible, as well as from industries also, it is not possible. If they collected full amount, it is very burden to the small scale industries. Again, they have to uh, uh, add all the expenditure on their profits, so that finally the people have to take more burden in this regard. So to encourage our small scale industries and other industries, our government also give some exemption to our private sector industries. Without the help of the government public sector, it is not possible to produce goods to the private sector people. Similarly, the government in India buys wheat and rice from the farmers at fair price, as you know that minimum selling price, just to encourage the farmers and agriculture and reduce the burden of the high prices. Always our government of India regulating the prices, and by reducing the expenditure, they are trying to reduce the burden on the farmers as well as on the people. This it stores in its godowns and sell it at lower price to the consumer through the ration shop. You have read about this in the chapter on food security in your class 9. Minimum selling price. So every year before starting the season, our government will announce the minimum selling price. So every farmer after the harvesting, if they are interested, they will hand over the crop to the nearby agriculture market yard under the Food Corporation of India. They collect all these grains from the farmers and they stored in the form of buffer stock for next 5 years. They distribute every month that rice through the ration shops to the needy people at the cost of only 1 rupee, which is available for all the people to reduce the poverty in our India. If you take the rice of the open market from 35, so 40, 50 also we are paying to get our rice bag for each kg. But whereas in ration shops, our government distributing at the cost of 1 rupee. Means the main motto of these fair shops giving providing food for entire citizens. No one should die without food. That is the main motto of the fair price shops in our country, which were run by our government of India. There are a large number of activities which are the primary responsibility of the government. The government must spend on this. So, which things or services mandatory to the people, what we call as primary services or needs, is provided by the government because that is the responsibility of the government. The government must spend on this. Providing health and education facilities for all is one example. Government schools, as you know, government hospitals, you know. So we are not paying any amount here to government schools and hospitals because which is needed, primary need to the nation's people. Those who are unable to pay the amount, they are going to the government schools and hospitals. Those are able to afford the private hospitals and schools, and they may go to private, means private sector schools and colleges. We have discussed some of the issues in the first chapter, running proper schools and providing quality educations, particularly elementary educations in our country. It is the main duty of the government because India's size of illiterate population is the one of the largest in the world. So most of the Indians are illiterate. Most of the children, they are not going school education after the 5th or 7th classes, which is available in the nearest places to them. Some people are not sending their children to education due to the poverty. Instead of sending to school, they are sending to work to earn money to support the family. So that now our government introduced the program of midday meals program for those people to encourage free school transportation, free books, free uniform provided by our government to increase the literacy rate and to enroll more students to the education. Similarly, we know that nearly half of Indian children are malnourished. Malnourished means lack of food. They are not having all vitamins and strength in their body, and hemoglobin percentages to them are very less. We call as malnourished. And a quarter of them are critically ill. We have read about infant mortality rates. What is meant by infant mortality rates? The children who are dying at their small age due to the malnutrition. If you see here, the infant mortality rate of Odisha 53 for every 1000. We are not calculating this mortality rate or population census. We are calculating only for every 1000. So in Odisha, for every 1000, 53 children they lost their life. In Madhya Pradesh, it is 56, is higher than some of the poorest regions of the world, like African countries. What is the main reason here? Malnutrition. To avoid this all, our government introduced Anganwadi schools. They providing healthy food to them, vitamins and vaccinations to the poor people through the Anganwadi schools, through the government hospitals to reduce this malnutrition, so that they are providing nutritious food, vaccines and medicine to the pregnant women also. Before giving the birth to the child, they are giving nutritious food to the mother. After that, up to 2 years, they are providing to the child also to avoid this infant mortality rate. And government also needs to pay attention to aspects of human development such as availability of safe drinking water, housing facilities for the poor and food and nutrition. It is also the duty of the government to take care of the poorest and most ignored regions of the country through increased spending in such areas. So it is our responsibility of our government of India to take care about the poor people and to provide best facilities to the people of the nation. What are the main responsibilities of the government? Now I am going to discuss with you. See, the first one is government raises money through the taxes and other ways to meet expenses on the services rendered by it. Governments have to undertake heavy spending such as the construction of roads, bridges, railways, etc. And third responsibility is that to support, encourage the private sector to continue their production or business, because our government itself not able to provide invest more amount on every aspect like soaps, oils or mobiles. It is not possible by our government to provide all facilities to the people, so that it is needed to encourage the private sector also. And the government must have to provide buy the wheat and rice from the farmer and have to uh, provide the same food to the poor people at lower cost, and running proper schools and quality education and quality healthcare facilities to the people, and also need to pay attention aspects of human development to provide availability of safe drinking water and housing facilities to the poor people. These are the major responsibilities of the government to ensure the welfare of the people. What is the difference between public sector and private sector? In public sector, government owns the most of the assets, whereas in the private sector, ownership of assets are by the private people, private individuals, or the private companies, or the joint people. Here, for example, railways, post office are the example for public sector. Here, Tisco and Reliance. What is the main purpose of the public sector? Means to provide uh, basic facilities to the people, not to earn profit. Whereas the activities of the private sector only for earning more and more profits. These are the main differences between the public sector and private sector activities. Public sector to provide employment in public, so most of the people also they are interested to work in public sector. What is the main reason? The public sector, the government will ensure all the facilities to its people, as already I discussed with you in your previous part, organized sector activities. And major problem for populated India is unemployment. You see, most of the people are unable to get their job in our country. They are unemployed. Why? What is the reason? What is meant by unemployment? When a person is willing to work at the prevailing wage rate but fails to get a job, it is called as unemployment. The people are ready. People are willing to do work, but there is no work to do. That is unemployment. How many opportunities is possible to create by our government of India to entire peoples? As you know, 136 crore population in India. Highly impossible. So that private sector, they're providing many plenty of opportunities, but the main motto is to earn more money, so that people are not getting proper wages in private sector especially. That is the major problem in India. Due to this unemployment, wages, when the people are more people are unemployed, then automatically the people are willing to do work at less wages to earn some. They need to earn something. Sometimes we said that something is better than nothing, so in that way they are willing to do work, but there is no works to do. Classification of unemployment, based on the type of unemployment, we are dividing into 5 types. The first one is seasonal unemployment. Second one, disguised unemployment. structural unemployment, cyclical unemployment, and frictional unemployment. What are the 5 types? Seasonal, disguised, structural, cyclical, frictional, and technical unemployment also. What is the first one? Seasonal unemployment. Most of the times we are observing this type of unemployment in rural areas. The unemployment which generates due to the variation in seasons is called seasonal unemployment. Example, agriculture. So we have the work at the time of seed sowing. After that, again applying chemicals and festivals. After that, again harvesting. So we are not getting crops continuously 365 days in agriculture sector. Season wise, when we have the rain, then automatically our people are ready to cultivating their lands. So these type of unemployment or employment opportunities here depends on the seasons, called as seasonal unemployment. Rest of the time there is no work to them to do. Second one is disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment. What is meant by disguised unemployment? When the people are working but not getting proper wages, means the people are engaged in work more than required, is called as disguised unemployment. For example, in a field, 5 members of the same family are working. If 2 members are working in the same field, there is no change in the production. If we added 10 more people to the same field for 2 acres of land, there is no change in production. If we are using 2 members, we are getting the same yield. If we are using 10 members, we are getting same yield. If we are getting using 20 members also, we are getting same yield. But here, people are working but not getting proper wages. So this type of unemployment we call as disguised unemployment. If the same family engaged with another works, additionally, they will earn additional amount. But it is not possible in this disguised unemployment. Next one, structural unemployment. When the economy fails to generate enough jobs, it is called structural unemployment. Our government fails to generate enough jobs in public sector, so that they're encouraging private sector people, private multinational companies in our country to generate more jobs to the people. So if the government economy fails to generate jobs, for example this corona situation, completely our economy fails to provide or generate enough jobs in this pandemic season. So that is what we call as structural unemployment. Next one, cyclical unemployment. The unemployment that is created because of the depression in an economy. Present we are under this situation also. Cyclical unemployment. Next one, frictional unemployment. When unemployment happens because of the transferring from one job to another, the period between changing the job is called frictional unemployment. Present, we lost our job in one institution. So to get our job, it takes 2 more months. The gap between these 2 jobs, that 2 months period, we call as frictional unemployment. And technical unemployment. When the people lost their job or employment due to the technology. In a shop or in a work, 20 members are engaged. With the invention of the computers, many people they lost their job because 10 people's work is done by only one single computer with that manpower enough. So that 9 members, they lost their job. This is what we call as a technical unemployment. I said that types of ownerships are two. What is the one? Private sector and public sector. Again, in this ownership, we have single ownership by individuals, partnership, more than one person, and minimum two and more are included in this partnership. Most of this partnership or single ownership we observed in private sector only. And joint stock companies, so different individuals together, like earlier Hero Honda or TVS Suzuki. So like the way. So different multinational companies, they tie up with the local companies and they start their services. After that, if once they habituated to the local people, they start the separate production. So joint stock companies. Next one, cooperative organization. Very important. Cooperative organizations also works like a public institution only. And then public sector, state and central government owned. Public sector are state and central government owned assets or services. These are the main types of ownership, economic sectors based on the ownership. Forms of cooperative enterprises: consumer cooperative, producer cooperative, cooperative farming, cooperative housing, cooperative credit society. What about this one? Consumer cooperatives. So a cooperative sector is related to the same category, like agriculture sector cooperatives and milk cooperatives and clothes cooperative sectors. So the same kind of people or the workers join together and they establish their own cooperatives, banks, like in this cooperative producer cooperatives, and farming. In farming, agriculture also we have the cooperative banks and cooperating housing societies. These are the main forms of the corporate enterprises which runs for the purpose of the welfare of the people here also, not for the purpose of the revenue. And this is economy, private sector and public sector. Even in India also we are following the same, private limited companies and public limited companies. As you know that individuals and joint sector, people together working. This is the types of business organization. This lesson completed, children. Once again we'll go about our summary once we recall all the things what we discussed in our 4 classes. What is meant by sector? A large segment of the economy in which businesses share the same or related product or service. When we produce a good by extraction and collection of the natural resources is known as primary sector. Example: farming, forestry, hunting, fishing, mining, poultry, aqua, everything which is related to nature. And the secondary sector activities we are producing goods. Most of the times small scale industries or the large scale industries, whatever the production based entire industries comes under secondary sector. And tertiary sector, it includes the activities that help in the development of the primary and secondary sector. So all these three, primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, are interdependent each other. Without any one sector we are unable to produce any goods or services. So for this tertiary sector, examples are teachers, doctors, washerman, barber, the lawyer, whatever, well, the people, those who are using their service to earn money, tertiary sector activity. So the value of the final goods, what we call as a gross domestic product, GDP of the country. So the development of the country we measure with the GDP of the final goods and services, not on the intermediate goods. Every year our government calculates the GDP of the nation, so that we came to know that our country, the economic situation, how many people are able to utilize their GDP. And these are the main differences between the primary, secondary and tertiary sector children. So more than half of the workers in our India are working in primary sector, mainly in agriculture. So it contributes only quarter of the GDP. 50% of the people are engaged in primary sector for work, but it contributes to the GDP only quarter, 1/4. And this secondary and tertiary sector employs less than half of the people as compared to the primary sector, but it produces 4/5 of the product only from secondary and tertiary sector. Home children, that is about our sectors of Indian economy. What kind of economic sectors that we have in our country, not only in our country, in entire world. I hope every one of you understood the lesson clearly. If you have any doubts, ask me. Hari Om. Complete all the activities and textbook part. Thank you.